Welcome to my podcast, Extraordinary with Neman. My name is Nemanja Golubovic and I'm your host. I lost my voice, as you can hear. A couple days ago, I was in New York at a concert that I've been waiting for almost 15 years to see and to hear. It's my favorite artist from Spain, Pablo Alborán, and I finally get a chance to see him live. I cried, I sang my heart out, and in the process, I lost my voice. On top of all of that, yesterday, I was a guest on a podcast where I needed to speak for a full 90 minutes. I was fighting for the breath to breathe, but I made it. Luckily, today, I have a guest, so we're going to have all the talking. We will leave all the talking for him. I'm very excited about having him as a guest because he's an entrepreneur in one of the hardest industries out there, the industry I'm also part of, which is the restaurant industry. He is the CEO and founder of Conscious Plate, and his name is Latrell Garnett. Mm-hmm. Hello.
Hey.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I just got to clarify, it's Conscious Plates with an S.
Plates. Okay, so multiple plates, not just one.
You feel me?
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So if you go, don't get just one, but get the multiple Conscious Plates. I love that. We'll talk about the name. We'll talk about all of that, how you end up owning such a wonderful restaurant. But we will go first way back in time. When and where you were born, where did you grow up? And just tell me a little bit about your upbringings.
Yeah, so I'm from Chicago. I'm from the West Side, so I'm from the hood. Okay. I went to Dvorak Elementary. From there, I graduated. Some people go to like pre-K, kindergarten, then there's like a middle school, and then middle school and then high school. But my elementary and middle school was all together. So I went to Dvorak, then I went to high school, Kenwood Academy, which is in Hyde Park. And that's how I was introduced to the south side of Chicago. Okay. So I don't know how that happened. Somehow I was commuting on the train for an hour from the west side to the south side for high school for whatever reason. I didn't get accepted into the selective enrollment high schools. I guess they thought I wasn't smart enough. So I ended up going to Kenwood, the next best thing. Throughout that process of school, I come from an entrepreneurial family. My grandmother is a event producer / just organizer behind the scenes of like businesses, startups. She used to produce the African Festival of the Arts. I don't know if you know that fest, every Labor Day weekend. She's done Real Men Cook, which happened at South Shore Culture Center out south. Let's see. Her brother, like everybody. Who
you grew up with? Who was your family?
Who was my family?
Who lived with you in your house in that moment?
So the family house, let's see, who grew up? My grandmother, her sister, so my great aunt, who has 3 children, whom all tap dance, and I'm also a tap dancer.
Oh, I did not know that.
So almost everybody, maybe 70% of the people in my immediate family, we all tap dance. And so we come from like the tap dance culture, Gregory Hines, Sammy Davis Jr., Savion Glover. I don't know if any of those names are ringing any bells. If not, that's okay. So there's like the artistic side of me as well, but then there's also the business of the arts. And so, I kind of got like a little trickle of that. My mom grew up in the house, her brother, so my uncle left and went to California for a little while. Everybody else stayed, my cousins. So my grandmother's sister's children, they all stayed in the house. And so one of my cousins was really like a person who influenced me as far as like health, fashion. When Kanye West was like really up and coming, and he kind of like started the wave of skinny jeans and all of that. My cousin fell onto the wave of it. I looked up to him and he influenced me in that way.
You're mentioning cousins a lot. Do you have any siblings?
I have a little sister. I have two little sisters, one on my dad's side and then one on my mom's side. And then one on my mom's side, I grew up closer to, but she's 10 years younger than me.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I grew up kind of feeling like an only child. Yeah. And by the time it was old enough for us to connect and relate, I was already off into the world.
Perfect. And it seems like it was a big family, right? Growing up, there was a lot of you all together. Like, what are some of your earliest memories, like, with the family?
Earliest memories, tap dancing. I was self-taught. Everybody else kind of went to class and stuff. I grew up like watching all the VHS tapes of everybody. So some of my earliest memories is me I started tapping when I was 3, just from watching my uncles and my cousins doing it. And so I'd be in the living room, put the tapes on and, just being there, not really knowing what I was doing, but I was just trying to mimic what I was seeing. And it just has always, ever since I was little, been a natural gift for me. So I would say tap dancing, other early
Have you ever
memories.
taken any classes later on after that?
Well, I mean, once I already knew how to,
Yeah, because you said self-taught. I was like, that's pretty impressive. Like, just from watching, right? You're trying to repeat the steps. And
I didn't take classes until I was already a professional tap dancer, just to learn from like the masters.
Okay.
Yeah. So that earliest memories, entrepreneurial. I used to sell like temporary tattoos to my classmates. I used to sell like stained glass.
How old are you at that point?
I was in elementary school, so I had to have been like, what's 5th grade? What does that be? That would be like maybe like 12, 11, 10 up in there.
And when you were already trying to make money?
Already, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my grandmother, just really like, she signed me up for something called Money Smart Kid. It was by the Chicago Tribune. I don't think they still doing it. Or
I never heard of that.
I don't know if it was Tribune or the Federal Reserve, but it was like a competition for like kids to come up with 3 ideas for like ways to make money. All I did was put the ideas that I was actually doing. And I ended up, I don't think I came in first place. I think I came in like 2nd or 3rd or something like that. So those are like anybody in my family, my cousins that I'm referencing, they all tell you like I've been doing this, this energy has been around me for a while. Really, I can mostly attribute it to my grandmother, her brother, so my great uncle, so June and Drew, and it's just trickled down.
Did you ever later on in life get a job that you work for somebody else, or were always trying to make money on your own?
No, the only job I got was one that my uncle worked at, a marketing firm that I ended up going and basically being like a web developer, coding. Then I ended up like birthing a whole digital arena because they were more like traditional marketing. So like telemarketing, call center. And they needed somebody young and new in the digital, apps and all of that kind of stuff. So, but it never felt like a job because I had a lot of freedom.
Okay,
I did pretty much what I wanted to do. The owner trusted me with my ideas. I was always like more or less innovating. When I was there, I pitched Mariano's a mobile app. I don't know if they ended up actually using it. So, I was kind of doing projects like that. So that's the closest thing to like a job, but other than that, I just been out here.
Okay. So what were some of the other ways that you were going through life in order to make money? Like the first thing you mentioned was doing a temporary tattoos to your classmates.
Yeah, when I was young. Yeah.
After that, what comes that?
So I was a drug dealer. No, I'm just playing. I never did that. Let's see. So tap dancing, I always taught classes. So I always taught like dance classes.
Were you able to make money out of that? To make a living of tap dancing?
Not quite like a living, but enough to survive, enough to bring in some money. Like if I was staying with my grandmother, I at least had some income coming in. So that, what else have I done? I've had a few, startups in my head. They were startups. I mean, in a sense they were. I've done events, like network. I had a company at the time when I was going into high school. When I was not high school, college. When I was in high school, I wasn't really as social. I had friends and I was cool, but I was really focused. I was in my own world. So I was always like, I always had like an idea, and I was always like just trying to do something, and everybody knew that about me. So that kind of started me. It kind of prepared me for what came next after I graduated, which was my first company, I guess you could say. It was called Be Seen. Okay. It was supposed to be like a social networking website for artists. Okay. And I never could get the website off the ground because I didn't code good enough to like code a website. So I tried to work with people overseas, all that stuff, and learned a lot from that. That didn't work out. But I still had like a networking event component of it where I coordinated like talent agencies in Chicago to come out. I'm in the arts community in Chicago, so getting people to come out and audition to perform in front of talent agents, it was a pretty like smooth, effortless thing for me to like organize and like pull it together. We even had people that like came from DC, I think it was DC, other places to like audition, or not even audition, but at least like perform. And I was just going into college, so I was like probably 19 organizing this. Yeah, so I've done things like that, made me a little bit of money. I used to street perform a lot. So I used to tap dance in the subway on Michigan Avenue, Taste of Chicago. And that was a pretty like sustainable source of income. I've never had any problem like hustling, hustling in the sense of like, I never needed like a formal, shiny way to make a living, like if I had to grind and get it in a gritty way, like street performing, and I say that because it wasn't necessarily easy. Like, I have to carry planks of wood from home, on the train all the way downtown on a dolly with a speaker, with my bag for tap shoes. So the spirit or the just being built to put in a work has been cultivated for a very long time. So yeah, I don't know how all the ways that I've survived, but I'm here.
But that sounds incredible. Like I had no idea that you were a tap dancer, and alone that you perform on the streets and stuff. That sounds like a hustle to me. Okay, let me go out there and make some money, right? Were you able to make some money out of that?
Yeah. I mean, like, I definitely would never discredit street performing. My cousin still street performs to this day in New York, and I respect it because you may look at it as like, oh, that person's on the street, but one, they're doing what they love. And two, depending on what it is and where you are, you can make a decent amount of money. Like in a day you could. Is
anybody discrediting it? I never heard of anybody talk ill of somebody performing in the street. Like if anything, it's respectful.
Well, when you're doing it, you get to see how dynamic people can perceive it, if that makes sense. Some people do find it entertaining and engage and stop and drop some money. Some people you could feel from them walking past that it's more of like a looking down, so not that there's anyone that has ever like blatantly disrespected it or looked down on it, but just, some spaces don't have a voice. And so it's just knowing that it's something that I used to do, you could make like $500 in a day, $1,000 in a weekend, and so it's definitely, so you can make more money street performing than you can some 9-to-5s, so yeah. I
was not ready for this, but I have the whole little story with me and my brothers. Actually, this is not my quote. I heard it somewhere, but if the street performer catches your attention or like you enjoy it even for a second, you owe them money. Okay, that somebody said, and I read that somewhere, and it stuck in my mind, and I agree with it, right? So every time we travel, we were all together. I don't know, across the Europe, in Paris, in Barcelona, and we are the whole family. Last trip we had was in Milan, and my brother can back me up on this. Like every street performer that catch our attention, even for a second, we were very well aware that we owe the money to that person, and we made an effort to go back and give some money. So there was 1 second where we didn't have any more money, any more cash, and then somebody was there with the violin and stuff, and I was joking, I was saying to my brother, don't enjoy it, do not enjoy this music right now, because if we do, we're gonna end up owning him money. And we enjoyed it, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then we were like calling my mom, because she was in some of the stores, we need you, we need money, because we owe money to this performer. So my brother can totally back me up on this story, but we ended up getting money from my mom, and we ended up bringing the money to the performer.
Yeah.
Even though I was saying to my brother, don't enjoy now because we don't have any money to give him. So I hope this is a message for everyone listening to this. If the street performer catches your attention and you enjoy it, even for a second, you owe money to that person. Okay. So
indeed, and even if you don't have any money to give, to just sometimes just giving energy, you know, because you never know how long that person been out there.
Bills.
That's true. That's true. But, you know, just again, me being in it, at least I can't speak for other street performers, but sometimes people like clapping for you, it do mean something, you know, versus you just performed and nobody paid you no attention.
Did you had scenarios like that?
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying it. Yeah.
Oh, and how did that make you feel?
I mean, you know, sometimes it could be dismotivating.
You're like, let me just pick all of this stuff and leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that at times. I've been out there maybe like an hour or two. Didn't get too much acknowledgement or money. And I was just like, you know what, I'm done for today. So
now I have to tell you another story. I'm thinking of it. Yesterday, I was in a podcast in this very same studio. I was in your chair, and there was a different host. And she was asking me questions about, it was in my native language, actually, it was not in English. But she was asking me about the school and things that I have done. And I used to do a lot of theater. And when my theater group shut down that I was a part of, I was so devastated that I decided to open my own. And I didn't know what kind of play we would perform, so I wrote the play myself. I directed it. I found the actors. I found the places where we're going to perform. I've done everything on my own. And when the day came that we need to sell tickets for the show to be seen, I decided to be free. And I was a kid in that moment, so not like I needed money. I lived with mom and dad and had food in their house and everything. But everybody was like, why it's free? Why don't put it like $1, $1? And I said, I worked so hard for this. I don't want to sell it for $1. Like, I think it needs to be $150 ticket for somebody to, how much effort I have put in that. I was like, I will or charge $150 and nobody comes because there's no way anybody would pay me over there that much money.
Right.
Or it's going to be free. I don't want to do it for $1. So just the story of that, how it can be sometimes discouraging, reminded me of those moments when I felt discouraged that I cannot charge what I thought I deserved. So I decided to gift that play to the city, and then we performed for days because, of course, it was a free play. People wanted to see it. And it was a good one. But anyway, thank you for letting me share the story.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about tap dancing then. You said then you had a place where you were giving classes to others. Right? Are you still doing that?
No. I could, but I mean, I'm sure you know, like, you know, I have a lot to focus on.
Yeah, of course.
I still tap dance. I still perform, but I don't teach.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you're still in that. I wanted to ask you, like, when that part of your life,
it's never end. It's because it's always gonna be in me. Yeah, I could put my shoes on right now. You know.
Oh my God, man! I wish we had a shoes and a place. And I would love to see. Maybe we should include some videos and people should look you up and
Indeed.
see that. I'm curious now, so I want to see. Okay, tell me, let's go a little bit more then to the business side of everything that you have done. That's very early. That's in the 90s, when you were 19 years old, where you were already developing your first company stuff. What did you do after that? Like, what did you do in your 20s?
Okay, that's a great question, because I wanted to do my own thing. I started an app for like shopping locally. Wasn't even anything that I for real had a deep passion for, outside of just like, I knew technology. I knew the mobile app space, the emerging mobile app space. I was passionate about community, but the project itself wasn't anything that I was passionate about intensely. So it was something that was like short-lived when it wasn't working. And after that, which was maybe like, because I dropped out of college to work at the marketing firm. I was like, if I already wasn't...
What college did you go to?
I went to Columbia here.
And what was your major that you were?
It was arts, entertainment, and media management. Yeah, so it was like a manager for I always like thought I was gonna be a entertainer or like an artist. Yeah, until I realized that my more fruitful gift was being an entrepreneur. You know, so I kind of, at that point, when that project that I was working on wasn't moving, I even kind of got it off the ground. I had stores, and it was like how I could put it is like, it was like a Instacart for shopping at small local businesses, not necessarily like the larger corporations like a Costco and stuff like that. It was more so like the small guys. And so it just wasn't really, it wasn't, picking up any momentum. I even had grocery stores on the app paying monthly, but I couldn't, it's like chicken and egg scenario. It was like I couldn't get the users, the way I needed to for how I was getting the stores. So it just kind of fell off, and I kind of checked out of being an entrepreneur in the way that I was. And so I just started to drive Uber and Lyft.
Okay.
Intentionally. I just was like, let me do something that is not confined as far as like a 9 to 5, for me to make some money to sustain myself.
And still, okay, your own schedule and things like that, right?
Exactly.
That's why I love when,
yeah,
when people pick Uber, I was like, okay, you work when you want.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then for me, it wasn't anything I was looking at long term, but it was like it works for the space and the chapter that I'm in, because it also gave me space to like think and reflect, and that's all I was doing. And whatever year this was, 2014 or 15, somewhere up in there, I was just driving, people get in the car and I'm just thinking the whole time, just reflecting. And so, and the reflecting, the thinking was like, what am I doing in life? You know what I'm saying? Like I always, I've always known like my gifts and my natural effortless like ability to I guess understand the climate of things, as far as like entrepreneurially or startup wise, the startup culture at the time. Like I was heavily in that, and even that I just kind of started to feel a little misguided, because on one hand I think I could have been a successful entrepreneur a long time ago, but my heart is a certain way. My spirit is a certain way. I can't do something for the sake of money. I just never have been able to. And, and that partly comes from, I feel like I've endured a lot of suffering in my upbringing. A lot of like, just challenges surviving, challenges coming from a traumatized family dynamic. A lot of my family, like, over time stopped talking. I do have a large family, like rarely anybody talks anymore. And just, it's different when you are doing something that's being driven by your heart and your spirit. You can be more present. You have more to give even when you don't have anything to give, and I could feel that disconnect that I was in. And so I just took a step back to reflect of, like, what I've been doing. I felt like I caught the startup bug, years ago, or I don't know. I feel like it was kind of starting to become trendy, startup, the whole thing, and looking for investors and having an idea and then looking for investors and that whole thing. And I was so in the paradigm of that I wasn't even self-reflecting on what is my soul and my heart without thinking about business and money. What is it called to? And I just needed to take a step back to, like, feel that out. And that led me to thinking about, like, all types of, like, out of the box, like, wow stuff. I started thinking about, like, housing. I was like, okay, part of this is, like, I need a place to stay. I got to pay rent. I got to bill, like you said, we got to survive, and
exactly.
We need money to do that.
To pay. Yes.
So then I started researching alternative ways of living. There's, like, a lot of culture around living off grid, which we all, to some degree or another may know and be aware of. But when I dived deeper into it, I'm uncovering communities, cities, of people that, have bought land that has a lot of, like, freedom to it as far as taxes and building codes and laws from the municipalities wherever they are, self-sustainable housing. So, I mean, we all know, like, solar panels, but then depending on how you architect and build even a home, it can be self-sustainable from, like, the water, collecting rainwater, growing your own food, your utilities as far as, like, the electricity and all of that stuff, and it just being off grid. And I'm just studying all of this, learning about all of this. I'm learning about tiny homes. I'm learning about what they call schoolies, which is basically, like, where people convert a school bus into homes or RVs or whatever you want to call it. I found myself finding a city in Taos, New Mexico. It was I don't remember what it was called, but it was in Taos, New Mexico. And it was basically, like, maybe, like, 350 acres. It was huge, and it was different homes called earthships on them. An earthship is basically, like, built out of self-sustainable materials. The walls are like the insulation is cans, bottles filled with sand. The actual wall is like clay or hemp, so it's more breathable. The whole hydroponic system is, like, it's wild. I was so fascinated. I went down there. I went on a whole derail in life, and I just got, like, absorbed into, like, this whole self-sustainable, sovereign, off-grid kind of way of living. And so I was going to buy some land in Colorado. So I went to Denver, drove like an hour or something to this in the middle of nowhere place to buy like 5 acres of land. I went there, kept going to Taos, New Mexico to see the city, see how they did it. And then did pass on the land because it was not good quality land. And then I came back, kept researching. I was like, you know what? I'm going to bypass land and just do the mobile thing. So I bought a school bus, learned how to do electrical, plumbing,
That's why I wanted to ask you,
carpentry.
have you ever made any of those
So
researches into the reality? You did, right?
Yeah, I've built two RVs now. I ended up losing the first one.
Okay.
That's a whole story. I don't know if you want to go into that. But I ended up losing that one. I ended up losing both of them, ironically, which I was actually okay with, because the project of it was like, I self-funded it. It wasn't like I had like a revenue stream at the time. So I'm just doing Uber, the driving, so I'm taking what I can. I didn't really have any infrastructure to do that. So I'm just doing it wherever I could. And where I was doing it, it was like people kept messing with the property. So, I'm having to like, handle things financially that I'm not prepared for. So it just was starting to like feel like a weight and a burden. As much as I was like passionate about it, I'm like, it's always something, you know what I'm saying?
No, I understand that very well.
Yeah. So then I ended up losing it. That's a whole story.
You might tell me about it, but I do want to ask something. I really loved how passionate you are about that self-sustainable thing, and it's just so cool. So I wanted to let you go, but I heard when you mentioned, you said in your upbringing there was a lot of suffering. And can I ask what you're referring to? Why you suffered as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with my family very together at one point in time. And then I think that there was a lot of like unresolved dynamics that caused wedges and hate and lack of trust, fighting between people in my family. It really all stemmed, I can't really say where it stemmed from, but I grew up observing, like I said, everyone together. So my immediate family, my mother, my mother's mother, so my grandmother, like they/we were the people that held space. So around the holidays, everybody came over to our house, or to the family house, and my mom was the one that cooked for everybody. And so I grew up with that sense of family. And then
that started falling apart.
It started falling apart. A lot of it stemmed from like my immediate family. And so I say like immediate as in like, so I have a mother and a father, right. Yeah. But, so it was like just dynamics where, my mother fell out with her mother, my grandmother fell out with some of her siblings. And I was kind of like the child that, like at a point in time when all of this started, I was like breaking my mom and my grandmother up from like physically fighting, when I was young, when like I didn't understand what was going on. I'm coming out of my room and I see them on the floor like tussling, and I had to like break them up. So suffering in a sense of just, it kind of it put a strain on my relationship with my mother, my relationship with my grandmother, because they started to clash in a way where like I couldn't safely have a relationship with either one of them because I was pulled, you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Yeah. So my parental relationships and connections, they were severed. I didn't have them anymore. So the suffering was really just like in those core relationships being destroyed and not having them, and my heart being like suffocating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It must be painful to watch. And then when did you move of that house, or when you left?
Yeah, I was between them for a while. I was between like wherever I could go.
So they fell apart they stopped living together, and then you lived in a place. What about your father?
He was locked up for most of my life, so he's been incarcerated. He got out, and he came around, and he put forth his attempt.
So do you have any relationship with him?
No,
now?
I don't have a relationship with him now. Yeah, I mean, there was an effort put forth, but it, it's like, no disrespect to him or any father that tries later, but it's like, as a father, you may not know that you were a little too late on certain things.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're trying to do this when that child has already had to do that for themselves.
Yeah.
So they might not need what you think they need.
Father anymore, because they
maybe
for their own father to themselves.
His effort was more financially or gifts and things like that, and it's like, I don't really need any of that.
Yeah.
So it just didn't. There was never a opportunity to develop a sincere connection from where I was, where I am, where he was, where he is. So, but
fair enough.
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah.
But what about your mom and grandma? Are they still alive?
Mm-hmm.
And are you in touch with them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you are.
Okay. With my grandmother, I don't really talk to my mother as much. I also don't talk about that as much.
Okay.
That's okay, me saying that, sharing that, because, ironically, like, some people come into Conscious Place and they're like, I know your mom, or I just talk to your mom, or like my mom has like a business, a wellness business where she does things. So people like associate us a lot, and I'm happy for her. I think that like what I've done, inspired her. I think it's inspired various people in my family, especially like my immediate family. But I'm really distant because I worked hard to carve out my life.
Okay, and you're distant from everyone now. You live
not
alone?
everyone. Well, as far as living, I live alone. I talk to my grandmother every day. She works at Conscious Place, so she's like, she does all our ordering for all of our inventory and things like that.
No idea. Oh,
yeah,
so cool.
yeah. So you might not see her, but she's a great administrative.
With grandma, you're still close. Seems
Yeah. My grandmother I'm like her baby boy, So so my grandmother, we're very close. I've always been up under her,
It seems like you mentioned her a lot, and I figured like even more than your mom. So I figured you must feel closer with her.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing. My mom, I have a lot of empathy for my mom.
Okay.
Because she has had her own suffering.
Okay.
So, there became a point in time where my mother started to look to me and how I was overcoming. You know what I'm saying? I started to become for her the person that she could ask questions about life or healing or mending things or how I think about this or think about that. So, I just started to mature, to where I felt like not so much now. I think she's doing okay or doing good now in various ways. But at a certain point in time, I was for her and for various people, I was the person that people leaned on. So I just and I'm kind of like, especially at this point, like I'm very much built for it. So, I've kind of just because of that, I've become very like, I had become very independent, almost hyper independent.
Okay, it's good
and then
for
I had to learn how to be interdependent, because then I had a problem asking for help if I ever needed help, or even if I didn't need it, just receiving help. So it was I had to take a few steps back. in a sense.
But that's incredible. Like, I feel I'm extremely independent person too. I live so far from my family. We are close and everything, but like I left when I was 18 years old, never came back to Montenegro to live there, went to visit and everything. But I've been independent majority of my life, like did everything on my own. And so I support that and I love that for you. I do want to ask the last question about family before we go to food. I want to talk about food. And I don't want to go in the past. As you said, you don't talk a lot about it between you and your mom. But do you ever consider in the future maybe trying to rebuild or reconnect your relationship with her? Or you think it's a hard question, right?
No, it's not even that it's a hard question. It's just some questions, some conversations, you know, you got to have with the person first.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't even want to talk about something that I know I need to talk to her about first before I talk to the world about.
Yeah,
you know, like
that makes sense.
Yeah,
before saying on the podcast. Yeah,
okay,
you
know. But what I will say is, I love my mother. You know, like I said, I have a lot of empathy for her. My distance isn't because I'm disinterested or disconnected from her. It's just more so out of like I said, I worked hard to get to where I am, you know, and you know, it's a protective thing of my life. And like I said, the space that I've carved out. So it's just the season I'm in. It's just the chapter I'm in where I know I have to stay focused. I have to stay protective, and you know, I have a lot of people that I take care of or that, you know, rely on me, you know, so I have to make sure that I'm staying focused, because yes, I do intend to give whatever I can to that process of healing. But you know, some things can really require a lot, and I have to make sure that I'm in that space to be able to give and be present all the way to whatever it may need or may require if I can. So that's my answer.
I really like everything you're saying, and I'm thinking in my mind, there's a speaking, I was like, it's a very smart man. I like that. Very clever. I love that. Okay, let's go to my favorite part now, because I want you to educate not just me, but everyone watching this. And my first question for you will be, and then we'll go deep into that, but my first question is, what is alkaline?
Great question. I have to first acknowledge Dr. Sebi. So, you know, some people may have heard his name and heard alkaline in association to Dr. Sebi. So a lot of us are familiar with alkaline water, or pH. So alkaline is essentially anything food-wise or, you know, fruit, vegetable, herb, water, liquid that has a pH of 7 and above.
Okay.
So
what is pH? Sorry.
pH is potential. It stands for potential hydrogen. So the thing with, I mean, many of us can relate to this, whether we meatitarian, vegetarian, vegan, any of it, that when we have to heal of something, that there are certain things that we have to deprive ourselves or our body of, and certain things that we have to give ourselves more of. More or less, it all stems from the basic core elements of nature: water, earth, sunlight. And so the potential hydrogen part of it is that we consume food sometimes that can deprive our body of, well, mostly water, but then also even of oxygen, right? Sometimes we're not breathing, but also sometimes we're not consuming foods that helps to get the oxygen not only into our body, but keep the water, the oxygen, the flow of energy in the form of water and oxygen moving. That's how we can get gallstones. That's how we can get cancer. That's how we get inflammation that can contribute to arthritis, diabetes, all of those sorts of things. even people who are vegan can have issues.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vegan food that it's not the
Not
healthiest
healthy.
out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what is alkaline food?
Yes.
So yes,
Yeah.
what is it?
So alkaline food is foods that were essentially not as high. Well, they're foods that, like I said, have a pH of 7 or above.
Or above.
That's the simple answer.
Uh-huh.
The science and history of that answer is a lot of foods that even are vegan have been genetically modified, hybridized. The processes that we don't see in the manufacturing facilities, at the farms, and the distribution process is that the processes sometimes may lack integrity. Sometimes things are cultivated, farmed, whatever, in a way that makes that food more starchy, more something that can contribute to acidity in our body or mucus.
Okay.
So opposite of alkaline, outside of saying acidic, mucus, which Dr. Sebi has said, many people are aware of, mucus is the cause of all illnesses. So if you consume alkaline food, you'll notice, I've noticed, many people have noticed that you won't find yourself having as much mucus in your body, as much inflammation, as much of a runny nose and things like that. So it's just a cleaner way to eat, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I know all vegan food, it's not alkaline, but I do have a question. Is all alkaline food vegan?
Yes.
So there is no meat or dairy that has that 7 or above?
So alkaline can be considered, maybe, I may be missing a few adjectives, but meat-free, dairy-free, wheat-free, because wheat is a common one in the vegan community. So we use spelt or more ancient grains in place of wheat. Starch-free.
Okay.
Right? GMO-free.
Free. What
Those
about
are
oil?
the core
Is it
ways.
oil-free or no?
It's not oil-free, but certain oils are GMO or not.
So it has to be a cleaner oil then.
A cleaner
like
oil.
An olive oil would be okay?
Olive oil would be okay.
Okay, good.
This is a great segue into all of my responsibilities with the business, but yes. So yes, this oil is okay. I mean, there's a such thing as excess oil, too much oil, you know, like you don't want to consume too much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But okay, now that I think I learned what an alkaline food is, because a lot of people have asked me and I was not sure if I'm providing them with the right answer. I kind of had a picture, but now I have it so much more clear. We learned what alkaline food is. Now let's go to the business side of that. Actually, first I want to know, how did you learn about all of this?
So,
like, and when?
Yeah.
And
so
are you eating completely alkaline?
like right now?
Yeah.
Right now I'm like 90-10.
Oh, wow. Okay,
So
that's good.
so the 10% I might come to Kill My Name or another vegan restaurant, you know, because
Enjoy.
Yeah, and enjoy, yeah. But
You deserve that.
yeah, I definitely do. Thank you. But how I
Learned about it.
learned
Yes, how
about
you started.
alkaline. I mean, so I've been vegan for maybe at least 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, me and my grandmother started together. I have to. I don't know
What
how
made you go vegan?
Yeah, I don't know how she would attribute it, but I would attribute I don't know if I can say because we started together, but I know that because I'm a big advocate and just big on like acknowledging people and giving people their credit, you know. My grandmother's sister was the more, for me being a child and me observing, was the more health conscious one. So she was more familiar with like herbs and you know, the vegetarian and you know, just eating cleaner. I don't think even during that time though that even my aunt was vegan.
Or familiar with the term, like
Maybe familiar with the term,
Yeah.
but still not vegan though, just health conscious, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
So the seed was always there in the family. And then my aunt's son was the was the one that influenced me as far as fashion and all of that. He was the studious person that studied everything as far as like and not even just as far as like food and health, you know. He would study like quantum physics and spirituality and the law of attraction, and you know, so he's had a big influence on me. And I think, if I'm correct, I need to check with them because I didn't say this before, because this is my recollection of it.
That's fine. Let's go with your
recollection. Yeah, for sure. Like, I think that he introduced Dr. Sebi's nutritional guide to my grandmother. So when I'm finished with this, I'm gonna call and ask her. But there's a nutritional guide that he created of foods that are more alkaline and least detrimental to the body. And so my grandmother, years ago, when we were becoming just vegan, she had the list on the refrigerator. So I was familiar with the list then. I would identify ingredients from that list in the grocery stores, but I didn't know at the time that there were people that considered themselves alkaline. And so this is really like this is why I tell people like Conscious Plates found me, right? Like the first part of us talking about, you know, my story has been talking about just out before all of this. So I've already been an entrepreneur. And
then vegan for years. I want to know that decision. You said you first went vegan. Why? Was it health? Was that the reason? We're like, we want to be healthy? It was health, and it was all of it. It was health. It was the animals. It was I mean, like, you know, my grandmother has always been like a free thinker, and you know, more of like a it was just in her spirit to be conscious of certain things, you know. So she really influenced me in that way. So it was both.
And
when you heard for the first time, this is veganism, there's no meat, there's no dairy, there's no eggs, what your initial thoughts are? There's no way I can do this? Or you were like, okay, I'm willing to give this a shot?
That's a reflection of like my relationship with my grandmother. I didn't have no apprehension to it. I don't remember, like, you know, I was in high school. I was still eating everything more or less. And then we embarked on that, I think, my last year of high school. And like it was, like, I don't remember the very first moment. Well, I don't even know if she said it or I said it. But whenever that first moment was, just that time, I just remember it being like it was a journey we were both ready to embark on. You know, we were excited about it, and we took it step by step. We wasn't cold turkey overnight.
Yeah, of course.
So we just cut out certain things. First it was red meat, then it was chicken and turkey, and then it was cheese. We were still eating like eggs with vegan cheese. Like, that's how much of a, you know, giant price.
But then it's been now over 10 years, around 10 years that you've been vegan, right?
Yeah.
And when you started cutting out those things and transitioning more into the veganism, did you feel any difference?
Yes, I used to get bad acne on my nose. Yeah, I used to have these.
Dairy. Dairy will do that. I think it's really dairy.
Yeah. All on my face. Yeah, it was, and it would hurt too. So acne.
So that went away.
That went away.
Look at your skin now, glowing.
You feel me? Yeah, you know, I kind of do what I do. Yeah. But so that my hygiene, changed a lot. And you know, I think my overall energy level, you know, in high school, I think I fit in more. And I think when I became vegan, I stopped fitting in as much, you know, not on purpose. I just noticed in retrospect that I started to stand out more, like just my energy and my aura. So I think it, without me realizing it, it gradually just changed my whole aura, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And through that process, you're learning a little bit more about alkaline foods. You said you get that list of the ingredients.
It was there, but I wasn't really too much. I knew a little bit. I watched a few Dr. Sebi videos, but I wasn't submerged in it. I just really ate what resonated with me. You know, so and this is also why I say that Conscious Place found me, because I just so happened to, I was vegan, but I never, like when we were grocery shopping, I bought more so like spelt bread. So I would buy spelt bread from the grocery store versus like regular wheat bread. And not because I was trying to be alkaline, I just liked it more. It just resonated more. It just, when I would eat it, I would feel better. It would go, you know how they say when you eat bread that it makes you feel lethargic.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, you know.
You were listening to your body. Perfect. And you've mentioned so many times so far already that a Conscious Place found you. When did they find you and how? Let's go to that part.
So, when was in 2018. I was at a crossroads in my life. I had just lost my car. I was still doing Instacart at the time. And I was sovereignty, self-sustainability, building the school bus, all of that. I had just lost the school bus. I was like, all right, whatever. I let it go. All right. Driving, Instacart. Lost my car because it got booted because of other individuals having things in my name and I didn't know. And then I ended up, losing my car.
Oh, wow.
And that just caught me all the way off guard. And right when that happened, I was staying in an Airbnb. No, I was staying with my cousin. But right before that happened, I was staying in Airbnbs. So I was like in Chicago. I didn't really have anywhere to stay. Like I mentioned, I was between places as far as family, and I just didn't feel comfortable being anywhere particular. And so I just was in a chapter of like kind of being homeless, you know, and I was staying in Airbnbs. And my cousin had just got her apartment at the time, but I didn't want to ask her to like go and stay with her because I knew for a while that she had been wanting her own apartment for a long time. She was staying with her mom and stuff for a long time. She finally got it. And I'm like, I'm just not that person to like crash nobody's vibe. You know what I'm saying? So it took a while, and I don't know, she was maybe there a few months or something. And then I eventually asked, and then I went and stayed with her. And like the first day or next day after me going and staying with her, car got booted. So then I was like, and I wasn't planning to be there long. I'm like, let me just keep stacking my money. I'm paying for like Airbnbs every day, every week. It was getting expensive to sustain. So I was like, all right, let me just go stack my money. Lost my car. And that was the crossroads of like, okay, I had $400 to my name. I had just told my cousin I was going to give her half of it, you know, just to give her some money for letting me stay with her. Lost my car. Still gave her $200. The $200, I was like, all right, I got $200 to my name. And I spent that day or 2 days, I think it was just a day of thinking in 2018, is this the point in my life where I finally go get a 9-to-5? Or am I going to bet on myself, stay 10 toes down and bet on myself? And so, you know, it was a very contemplative thing. And I said, obviously, I'm going to bet on myself, you know? So it was a wild starting week because, you know, $200, what's that? You know, you about to spend that tomorrow. So
exactly.
I'm like, you know, why I say it was a contemplative thing, because it wasn't like I could just make an empty promise or commitment to myself. I got $200. I don't really got nobody I could call and no plan Bs, you know? So it's like either I'm going to make this decision, fall through, and produce results in this week, because I have to. And so I did. And I came up with 3 ideas. Like I said, technology and marketing, branding, all that stuff that's been like my thing or whatever. So I said, okay, let me come up with like, at the time I was studying drop shipping. And so, you familiar? Yeah? Yeah. So at the time, I think it was when it was 2018, like 5-6 years ago, like it was kind of becoming popular, all the YouTube videos on people doing this. And I'm like, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? So I said, let me come up with like 3 ideas. Let me come up with a few ideas. So I came up with 3 ideas for things that felt like I could start an Instagram page on, create a website, and sell product and get sales within a week. And so I did that. One was an apparel business where I was just buying clothes, drop shipping, stuff that I didn't own, putting the images on the website, create all that whole thing, building up a following, posting stuff, just posting. I heard you talk about how you started your Instagram. You just started posting, right?
Before I had a business.
And same. So I started doing that with like the 3 Instagram pages. Started posting just to get a following going. Another one was a smoking pipes and gadgets and accessories and things like that. For anybody that smokes, back then, that would probably know or heard of the glass blunt. It was like a product that was going viral. And I was like, I don't know too many people in my world that know about that. I could probably like get something going with that. And then the third one was a more in-depth idea of like a Uber Eats for vegan food. So those was the 3 ideas.
Okay.
That first week I made money selling apparel.
Okay.
I'm kind of telling this out of order because the smoking pipes, smoking utensils and all of that I tried that before that point because I remember setting up the website and that was like a Thursday, and by Sunday I had sold like $90 or $100 of something. And that for me was like, okay, I could do that. All I needed to see was a sale.
Yeah, exactly.
From something from
figure
nothing.
it out. This can keep rolling.
Right.
Okay.
The apparel one, all right, okay. Maybe I made $100 or something. 50. I don't know what it was, $100 or something. And every week it just started picking up a little bit. So it was like $100, maybe $200, maybe $300. I'm like, okay, I got enough money to get something to eat, get around. You know what I'm saying? Cool. But the idea that I felt like I was waiting on that I could really like be a little more passionate about was the vegan food app that I thought I was doing. The name of it was Conscious Plates at the time.
Okay.
And I hadn't put any more action to it because it was going to be an app where people could order and get delivery. And so I'm not planning to do the delivery myself. So I reached out to DoorDash, and this was before they had where you could integrate into your own website and get people to order for delivery through your website and use their couriers.
Okay.
And so they were in the early phase of working out that concept of that department. And so when they finally was ready, I was one of the beta people that was able to leverage DoorDash Drive, which I think is eventually what they started calling it.
Okay.
And so so I was just kind of sitting on that. And so when it finally came through where I was like, they gave me access to the portal and all of that, I said, all right, it's time for me to start putting momentum to this. The first thing I did was went across the street from where my cousin stayed on the west side of Chicago, off Roosevelt and right off of Kesey, to this health food store called New Life Health Food Store. Shout out to them. Shout out to Ray, Barney, the owner, his daughters, because still to this day, they come to Conscious Plates and everything. They know that that's where I started. But I just went in there. It's a very humble store, maybe like the size of this studio, you know what I'm saying? And they had like a little back area where I asked them, I was like, if it would be okay for me to just set up a table back there and just sell some food, some vegan food, and give y'all a percentage of it every time I do it. And they said, yeah, no problem. They knew me from coming over there and getting jars of water. They did the alkaline filtered water. And so I was already going over there and they were already familiar with me. And I did the first pop-up. I remember the first thing was I think it was the very first thing that I made was I don't know if I called it like the conscious griddle. I might have. I don't know. But it was like, I always been like a sweet and savory kind of person. So I had an idea for like it was like a biscuit sandwich with like a vegan patty. I think the patty was like lentils or something. And then like, what else was on it? I think it might have had avocado and then some jelly. I think that was the first thing. I've always enjoyed cooking. I hadn't considered myself a chef at the time.
Yeah, you were not a chef, but you were like, okay, I can make these things.
Yeah.
And it started as a pop-up.
Yep.
Okay, and how did that was going well?
So did that. Few people showed up. Enough for me to do it again. Start posting, hey, I'm doing a pop-up. Start then from there, go to other relevant businesses around the city. So then I started going to the South Side to ask other small businesses as well as other health food stores if I could do a pop-up. So my family my cousin has a tap dance studio where plenty of families and kids come every Saturday for dance class. And so he would let me come and set up and sell food there. Even some of the parents still come to the restaurant now that, where we are now. So basically what happened was, as I was doing these pop-ups around the city, people that, when I would do a pop-up on the west side, those same people, not all, but some of those same people would come to a pop-up that I would do on the south side. I'm thinking that I'm just kind of going to be selling food to people that's coming into those businesses or maybe that lives in the area. But I started to notice that people were like following me. And so that made me start to
travel for your food.
Yeah. And that made me start to like ask questions. And I'm a very like inquisitive person. So I'm always like trying to understand what I'm experiencing. So I would just ask people like, yo, like what? Like what? I thought you stayed on that side of town. Like what you doing over here? Like, yo, I had to come get some of this food. Like, and over time, the conversations and me asking questions started to switch the light bulb. I started to have light bulb moments of like, oh, people appreciate the food that I'm making.
Yeah.
And they appreciate the ingredients that I'm using. People started telling me that they appreciated that I wasn't using soy, that they appreciated that I was using spelt, even though the spelt still had yeast in it and things that weren't necessarily considered alkaline. They appreciated that it was close to alkaline. And if it's like, again, just to tie it back to it found me, if I had naturally been eating that way, choosing to buy spelt bread and use a spelt biscuit and things like that, just from what naturally resonated with me, it might not have ever become what it is now, if that makes sense. So it was like, I listened. And then the next crossroads came. I mean, through that, I'm now developing more of a following, more of a customer base. But the next crossroads was, I wasn't all the way alkaline. But I started to notice that's what people value. So I had said to myself, I was like, okay, should I just be 100% alkaline? And I remember posing this question to people, and some people was like, just do both. Just have vegan food and just have some alkaline friendly options. I was like, word, I dig that. Okay. But the more I started talking to like the customers and stuff that was coming to the pop-ups, I could just feel, I'm thinking of the times, like I could just feel the passion of, like a lot of people don't know that there's hundreds of thousands of people that are only alkaline.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people I didn't notice getting into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
And then I just made that decision. And it was something worth committed to, it wasn't hard for me to do. I enjoyed eating that way. I enjoyed, being of service to something that was needed. And then, it just became where the pop-ups, I always kept things professional. I had like menus that I would print out with me. And, I was always branding things. I already had the logo. I already had, the Instagram,
and
a
you
website.
already kept with that name Conscious Plates because you were thinking of from that app that you wanted to develop, right? So even on your pop-up, that's the name that you were using. How long you were doing pop-ups before the final decision of I need to open a restaurant is coming?
I never knew. Okay, so there's maybe a couple more steps in between that. So people started calling me from the pop-ups, from the flyers, the menus. Hey, can I come get what you had there? And they called so much that I was like, let me stop doing pop-ups. Let me just be still and cook from home, from my cousin's home. She had just moved south. Let me cook from her home and set hours, create a website, let people order
and they pick
and just
up
come pick up.
Yeah.
I was on DoorDash. DoorDashers was coming through to the crib thinking they coming through to a restaurant. They like driving around the block looking for a call and like, I don't see the restaurant. I'm like, at this point I'm expecting every DoorDash to not know where to come to. The people that lived in the building that I was in, they knew that if a DoorDasher rang the bell that they was looking for Latrell on the 3rd floor. I kind of had, even the person who owned the building, he comes to Conscious Space now. He was cool with it. It was his building, but I told him, he like, hey, what you up there doing? I'm like, I'm just selling food. It was like a little, what they call that? A little side,
like an alley or something?
Like in between two buildings, a walkway. So to walk around the back.
Alley, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that, like that, sure.
Yeah.
So
like asking me for a word. So I'm like, English is my third language.
We gonna rock with alley.
Okay.
Yeah, a walkable alley. Okay, so people, customers knew to come there. You know what I'm saying? DoorDashers, more or less like the same DoorDashers was operating in the same area. You know what I'm saying? Usually, DoorDashers start where they live, and so eventually DoorDashers knew where to come. I had a customer base. I was rocking and rolling, you know what I'm saying? And then somebody in the building told me about Boxville, and I moved. And so Boxville is basically like, I would call it like an outdoor shipping container mall almost. It's just shipping containers that were converted for like retail, soft retail. So somebody told me about it. I went and checked it out, and I was like, all right, bet. So rent, it wasn't like opening a brick and mortar restaurant. It's like, it's a shipping container. You just have to pay rent. You just need some like tables, some minor light equipment, like let's say you might do a festival or something, so it was more light, doable for me. I was doing enough business where I saved up a few $1,000s so I could make a small investment into opening up that kind of operation. And between me being professional and me being a hard worker, showing up, getting it done, I built, I think, close to what Conscious Space know now, like an Alkaline Restaurant. In the beginning, nobody knew what Boxville was. Conscious Space put Boxville on the map. No other business. It was a t-shirt shop there, but a t-shirt shop, it's not bringing the same traffic of people. Yeah. So we kind of were bringing the community to
food. People got to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Exactly. And, I just became very distinct. I mean, even other businesses opened up in Boxville, came and left, and will come in and ask me like, so can you give me some pointers on like how to operate? Because it's a shipping container. There's no running water. There's no heat. The electricity ain't really like the infrastructure of the electrical work is not really retrofitted for a high equipment type of business, but I'm a very crafty type of person. I'm the type of person to make a situation work. And so that's what I did, I think, and so that was end of 2018, early 2019 that we moved into Boxville. And
when was the official opening of the Conscious Plates?
Of Boxville? Because we had a grand opening then. That was 2019, I think.
2019.
I think.
Okay. You're not at that same location anymore, no?
No.
Okay, so you moved locations.
Yeah.
So over there you opened, and it was like a grand opening, right? And it was a restaurant at that point, it was just.
It was a restaurant, but it was like it was outdoor sit down. I was able to put.
There was no place to sit. And
indoors, no. At one point, it was real. I'll say, if you know, that some people came through, and I had the container next to me set up. No, I was even in 120-foot shipping container, and I split it, and I had like a curtain to split from me just by myself being over there cooking, and then people walking into a shipping container sitting down, and I'm taking the food over to them. And it was working, like I think people respected seeing me hustling, and the food was good, and I always kept it professional. And then we started just picking up a bigger customer base. Like the business doubled every year from 2019 to 2020, whatever year before we moved to where we are now.
When did you move?
So that was what year are we in now? 2024. So
2024 already. Can you believe that?
I smash. Wow. 2022.
2022. Okay.
Yeah, so 2019 to 2022.
There? I went there. The place looks beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't look like you struggled with anything. It just looks very neat. Looks like somebody who came from money and set up all of that. It's gorgeous. So that is happening in 2022.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. And then you completely stop operating business at that other location and just transferred to the new spot, right? Congratulations.
Thank you.
I went. The food is absolutely amazing.
Let me just say,
yes,
it's 30 times better now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have to go back.
You have to come back.
Oh my God. Well, as
Divine
my friend
timing.
Tamika, I went with to your place. Say, don't threaten me with a good time. We will be there. I was like, it was a pretty amazing even then, but I'm glad you're finding into ways how to improve and make it even better. You did mention to me in one point you struggled too over there, right? How was that, and how did you overcome it?
Okay. Disclaimer or whatever. Disclaimer. Side note that I just feel like is like, I don't know what it was like for you or most people, because as you can kind of hear my story, I never intended to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
That was nothing I was planning to do. I wasn't studying the restaurant industry. I didn't know nothing about nothing that I was getting into. So
very similar story.
Yeah. So when I opened, I was just telling somebody about this. It was like hell. The grand opening, it was like, it was horrible because everybody was waiting like 3-5 hours for their food.
Oh, I know, that's awful. I went through that too, and I cried, and I was thinking they'll never come back.
Yeah,
they all came back.
Yeah. Most of them definitely did come back. For sure. It was definitely traumatizing because people was beating me up. Like it was crazy. So, but here the thing that I learned from it, but it was like, let me do my best because this is like a year's worth of I thought, like I said, I was at a crossroads in my life in 2018 when I started. I thought that was the hardest year of my life. Last year was much harder. The difference is I was already built for it. Does that make sense? Like, like 2018 was hard, but I wasn't built for it. I was getting into it, 2023 was much harder, but I had at that point, I didn't know what was coming my way, but I was already built for it. So, okay, these are my lessons, and this will be things that I feel like is important to just opening a restaurant in general. Menu development, menu planning. Plan your menu out. Spend so much time planning a menu. I feel like location, aesthetic in the restaurant, maybe even the name of the restaurant, all of that is so secondary to the food and the just the structure of the menu. Boxville, we had a menu, and when we were opening in 2022, I had ideas for like new dishes and all of this stuff, because I'm like, I need more of a thorough menu. We only had a few things because it was a small space in Boxville. So I wanted new things, but it's like, I didn't have any experience, so nobody told me nothing about like, you know, it had the importance of designing a kitchen based off of the menu, designing a operation around prep and training and all of that based off of the menu. Nobody, you know, so we just did not know what we were doing. Then it's like, you know, it wasn't an overnight or over. I mean, we got better, but it was so gradual, and it was so gradual that it took like, I mean, we 3 months, 6 months in to it just getting worse, because it was like, you know, we starting to get bad reviews. To this day, you could go on Conscious Space on Google and Google Conscious Space, and, you know, from then you will see a lot of reviews of people talking about like the wait time and all of this stuff. And it wasn't that we were like just slacking. The thing that I had to learn that I would not even be able to say then the way I can now because of the way things are now. Okay, let me try to take a few steps back to tell this in context. So I overhired, number one.
Yeah, of course.
Didn't train well. Wasn't there as much. Food wasn't consistent. Because no one was really being held accountable to follow recipes. So people was just doing what they wanted to do.
Okay.
Unless I was there.
Experienced all of that.
Wait time.
My biggest regret is that large menu that I have.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And that's caused me so much problems.
Yeah.
But that comes from my ignorance of not having a restaurant before.
Yeah.
But customers don't care. I also get those bad reviews for the wait times. We had hours and hours too.
Yeah.
Like we would just get slammed, and we have 70 items on the menu, and then just all. And as you mentioned, how you need to build a kitchen towards your menu. I just love that. You know how many people every single day, I'm sure you hear this often, oh, I have a great recipe for your restaurant. I was like, that's not how restaurants work. Like your recipe will not fit
in this kitchen.
My kitchen. It can be the best recipe in the world. My kitchen is now designed for my own recipes. We can develop more recipes, but they need to fit within these walls. They need to be made in the large quantities. They need to go out within 12 to 15 minutes. People don't understand that. And every single day somebody reaches out to me to gift me a
recipe.
wonderful recipe. I was like, just leave me alone.
Right.
People don't understand. I was like, open your own restaurant, buddy, and put all of those recipes that you're gifting to me, because people don't understand how hard it is to. And anyway, went through all of it, what you are saying, but I feel like I made it work now. And how you feel on that aspect?
I feel the same. I mean, yeah, you go through all of those learning curves. You adapt, you adjust, you take steps back where you can, where you hopefully don't lose too many customers. The ones you lose, it is what it is, because they don't understand. The ones that you don't lose, they with you, you know, and that's really more or less been what it is. And, you know, it got to a point where like I couldn't afford the staff that I had. So I had to let so many people go. And then that and that kind of happening throttled me in there every day. Yeah, so it was like half of last year into this year, every day, every single day. At one point in time, we was open 7 days a week. I switched that.
Are you open now 7 days a week?
No, November or something like that, we switched to Thursday through Sunday, because I was at a point in November where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, it was draining. It was very draining of me. Now, the part of it that I think I have like a unique journey around is I have so much to prep, Neman. I can't go and buy things.
Yeah, of course.
Nothing. I can't go buy buns. I can't go buy sauces. I can't go buy seasonings. I can't go buy.
Because everything is alkaline.
Because everything is alkaline. The tortillas, the everything. I was confused on like, how do I do this? Now, I mean, okay, thank you for saying I'm a pretty smart person. I don't think I'm that stupid, but I could not, like towards the middle/end of last year, so not long ago, right around the corner, I couldn't figure it out. I was reaching out to some of my mentors. I ended up talking to the president of Slutty Vegan.
Pinky.
Her president.
Oh, okay. I don't know who it is, but I know her.
Yeah, and just a few people in the industry that like, people were more or less like, either you white labeling a supply chain or other people products that they making, or you own your own. And I mean, I have no choice. My customer base, what I do, I have to make the food there's nowhere to go and get these things. So that when I finally understood that and accepted it, emphasis on accepted it, that throttled me onto the process of, let me figure this out. And that's what I did. The conscious place is heavily, all of our resources, all of our focus, all of our secret sauce, everything is in the prep. It's in the prep. It's in. We essentially have two businesses in one. We shout out to you.
Let's shake this first,
right?
And then let me ask you. It's all organic, and it's kale, apple, pineapple, and ginger. Does that make it alkaline?
Kale, apple, pineapple, and ginger. The only thing that doesn't is the pineapple.
Pineapple, it's not alkaline.
So when you eat pineapple and it make, if you eat too much of it, it start making your lips burn.
Yeah, I don't know. It's also like, I could feel it. Like I could feel it for 2 days if I ate too much.
Right. But that's the acidity part of it.
I know, but I thought pineapple, it's like so healthy and good for you.
I think I would still say some things that are not necessarily alkaline, they still have benefits.
Yeah.
It's just depending on. Everybody's body is different. Cheers. What they dealing with, indeed.
Will you make exception for me today?
Oh, I'm finna get into it. Yeah, like I said, I'm 90-10,
Okay, so
yeah,
good.
I'm 90-10. Yeah, so
survive with that. Yeah, it has that.
I love the bottle of it too.
I know, looks so cute, right?
Yeah.
Kale, my name, just the label. It's so beautiful. Our designer team did a really good job. Yeah. I had more ingredients I wanted to ask you, alkaline or not. Let me just check some of these. Yeah. I already heard for a lot of them that they're not. I know. Is coffee alkaline?
Nope.
No, it's
caffeine.
Not. So you don't drink coffee?
No.
I stopped and
but there is a such thing as mushroom coffee.
And
it's
mushroom
alkaline.
is alkaline. Okay, cool. You mentioned soy. Is soy not alkaline? Even like organic, clean soy? Not at all.
No, there's so much to soy, man. Like soy is is known to affect the hormones in people, especially
I'm gonna argue
in guys.
with that, but maybe not today.
Yeah.
But I would argue with that because I think, like you're talking about estrogen, I think the estrogen in the plants, it's not the same one as in humans. So, but we'll argue some other time because we're almost running out of time and I don't want us to get, you mentioned eggs. Eggs are not alkaline. Let me see some of these other ingredients.
You said eggs?
Eggs, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Olive oil, you said that it is.
Olive oil is, yeah.
Yes, that makes me really happy. Grapes, what about grapes?
Seeded, anything with a seed. If it doesn't have a seed, 9 times, where did it come from?
Oh, okay. So grapes are. Corn, what about corn?
There's more of an ancient corn. It's called maize. Maize is a little better for you, but no, corn and the traditional, the common corn, no.
Okay, good. Yeah. You already said kale. Yes, it is. And kale, cheers.
I like it, by the way. It tastes great.
Thank you so much for coming today. So good. What an incredible story. I just love how we went from that $200 to the 3 business ideas to none of those business ideas kind of sticking with you. But the third one that you are shifting into something new doing the pop-ups, opening your one spot, and then eventually opening the conscious plates. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm a huge fan of the food, and I cannot wait to now revisit again and see everything that you have changed. But let people know where they can find you. Where they can follow you, link on Instagram.
Yeah. So definitely tap into Conscious Plates, which is spelled the normal way, conscious, not conscience, conscious. So CONSCIOUS, plates with an S. On Instagram, TikTok, all of that. And then my social media is Latrell the Sovereign. Sovereign because at some point in time, my overall vision is to birth a city. Maybe we'll talk about that next time.
Oh my God, that's really interesting. And, that's a lot to talk more, but in some another podcast.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching today. What an incredible story. I'm just going to be repeating that from $200 to owning a wonderful business that I adore, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with. If you're not, go and check it out. What an inspiring story. Extraordinary, as I would say. And thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll see you the next time with another extraordinary story. I love you all, and remember, if anyone tells you that you are too much, you'll tell them to go and find less.